Are Solana NFTs cool, or are we just wasting our time and money? I think you probably can guess how I really feel about this, but earlier this morning, a fascinating thread came up from another community member, actually someone who has their own Solana NFT project, where they argued that Solana and the NFT ecosystem are not gaining the traction that they deserve because the NFTs themselves just aren't cool. I think we need to unpack this a little bit and talk more about what's going on in the marketplace today. Let's go. Alpha Boopy is a user on Twitter who recently launched a Solana-based project called Boopyverse, and it was a very interesting project with some very abstract art that, with the color schemes and the design patterns and everything, still looked really, really good and really, really interesting. And the entire purpose of the Boopyverse, well, I'm not going to put too much effort into this, but I'm going to say that the entire purpose of the Boopyverse seems to be more about building a culture and a brand and deploying stylized and very thematic apparel, which I think is really, really interesting. We're actually going to take a look at it when we get into this video. They made a thread today that was, they really retweeted one of my tweets where I was talking about how meme coins and really meme NFTs, derivative NFTs, are stealing away from the better NFT projects that are deploying today. Now, okay, before I get into this, we got to get you with a disclaimer. There is nothing in this video that is financial advice. I am not a financial advisor. I am not advising you. I'm just an enthusiastic person off the streets talking to my friends about things that I am passionate about. You should always do your own research because investing is risky, cryptocurrency is risky, and NFTs are even riskier. So do what's best for you and your situation. So, with that being said, I've been pretty vocal about this lately, that meme coins and meme NFTs are really pumping. We see a new pixel derivative launching basically every single week. And I think there's actually a pretty strong argument that our very top two projects in all of Solana NFTs are derivatives of them own. Those going to be Solana Monkey Business and Thugbirds, if you go based on market cap. They're pixel projects, and not too surprisingly, I see a lot of attributes that were derivatives from other artwork that exists out there in the real world. I'm going to talk more about that in a minute. But nonetheless, Alpha Boopy's argument was fascinating that what's happening in the Solana ecosystem right now is effectively that the artwork itself and the communities that are being built and the utility that's being built is simply not interesting. It's simply not as aesthetically pleasing and inviting as things that you see on Ethereum. I kind of disagree with that stance for a little bit, but I think it's important that we pivot a little bit. First of all, talk about how the Solana ecosystem is actually doing, what are the things that we've seen in the last week, and then kind of address some of the concerns that Alpha Boopy very rightfully and very interestingly and bravely brought up in this thread. Let's talk about it. Okay, so let's try this again. If you follow me on Twitter, you know that I just spent the last 30 plus minutes recording only to find out that my mic wasn't on after all. As you can see on the screen, I recently upgraded to Windows 11, free upgrade for Windows 10 users. And when that happens, the recording software that I use very frequently, whenever it changes in any form, if it's updated or whatever, the mic settings always get nuked. And for whatever reason, I just recorded and didn't check the mic settings after this upgrade. This is the first time I've recorded since the upgrade, and here we are. I just recorded a whole lot. So, trying to think about the path that I went on, because it was a big one. So, here we go. I started out this weekend, actually less than 24 hours ago. I tweeted right here. I'm trying to figure out if all of these low-effort cash grab pixel animal derivatives are hurting the reputation of Solana NFTs. Now, where did this come from? I was actually having a conversation with a couple different projects offline, and first of all, they were considering whether or not they even want to mint on Solana in general, because very recently, very high quality projects have been trying to mint on Solana and failing to do so, or it's going really, really slowly. Whereas if they had minted, even 30 days ago, even like 20 days ago, they would have sold out in 5 minutes or less. we saw really crappy projects launch on Solana in relatively recent history in the last month that sold out instantaneously. Things were like, celebrity rappers pumped the project the moment they got paid. They ditched out, they deleted their profile pictures, they deleted all their tweets and everything, and that stuff sold out. Like, legitimately bad projects were selling out, and now legitimately good projects aren't. And I was trying to figure out if this is because of meme coin mania, if this is because of pixel animal derivative mania. We see these projects that are all pixel animal derivatives where they mint, 3,000 supply at 0.25. And you're like, oh, whatever. I mean, that's nothing. I'll go mint like 20 of those and call it a day. And then the thing is you think like, okay, well, that's where it ends. Like, I'm just going to, throw some money at this. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. But then they do it again tomorrow. And then they do it again the next day. And then they do it again the next day. And nobody's caught on to the fact that they're really just recycling the same crap over and over and over again just to grab cash and accumulate SOL while it's extraordinarily high and continuing to rise. Meanwhile, projects that have, like a slightly higher supply and a slightly higher price, like Broken Robot, Cybergang, Guardians, they're all struggling to mint. They're all struggling to get through mint. Cybergang as of today has been minting for almost 7 days at this point. They're over 70% done. They're going to finish minting in the next couple days. Extraordinarily high quality project built by community members for community members. And it's a good thing, in my opinion, that they're doing a slow mint, because now only the people who legitimately want to be there are minting, and they're building an insanely solid foundation and community. And I think that project, and really all of these projects that are slow minting, are going to do really, really well long term, because they're not getting caught up in mania, and they're not getting people who are caught up in mania. They're not getting people who are just minting to get a quick flip. They're not getting people who are using bots. I was in Monkey DAO last week where they were talking about Boryoku dragons, and there was a member in there, I'm not going to call him out, but there was a member in there kind of bragging that they used a bot to bot the mint, and they got something like 60 dragons. It's kind of crappy, if you ask me, that this is the type of stuff that's going on in our ecosystem. But nonetheless, I tweeted this because I'm trying to figure out, like, what's going wrong with our ecosystem where high-quality stuff is struggling, and, low quality cash grabs are thriving. How do we get out of this funk? And somebody, Alpha Boopy, who has their own project called Boopyverse, really cool project in my opinion, tweeted out, look at this right here on the screen, right there. Sol NFTs just aren't cool. Whoa. That's a serious punch to throw out there. Now, I said this in the last recording that didn't actually record, and I want to say it again. When you hear things like this, your gut reaction is to have like an emotional response, right? Be an adult. Be grown up. It's tough love. We're all a family, and every now and then you're going to hear constructive criticism that's hard to hear. And in this thread coming up, you're going to hear things that are hard to hear. Some of these things that Alpha Boopy points out, I agree with, that they're problems. And you need to not act like a child. You need to act like a grown adult. Hear this constructive criticism, take it, and either disagree with it, compose yourself and disagree with it, or move forward in a constructive way that makes you better. No team has ever won the Super Bowl or the World Series or the Premier League because they had a soft coach. The coach is the one who calls people out and says, this is bullshit, you're doing a bad job, do better. And sometimes when you hear stuff like this, that's exactly going to be the case. So ultimately, Alpha Boopy makes this big, long thread, and it's comprised really of two main arguments. The first one is that Alpha Boopy doesn't believe that the artwork is good enough or cool enough, at least compared to Ethereum-based projects. And secondly, and maybe most importantly, that none of these projects are creating a culture around being a true community. That's something that I've been harping on quite a lot recently. Now, I'm going to counter-argue the culture one quite a bit. The artwork one is a little bit less of a counter-argument and more of, I just feel differently. So if we look at it right here, they say, when we're talking about the top projects on Solana, right now the general consensus is SMB, Solana Monkey Business, DJ and Ape Academy, and Thugbirds. Then they go on to say, but two are simple pixel illustrations, and another is an ape that isn't as friendly or as universally appealing as BAYC. All right, so let's talk about this for a second, because now we're talking about art. And typically, when people are buying NFTs, their flavors for artwork come in one of three flavors. They prefer 3D artwork, they prefer 2D cartoon artwork, or they prefer pixel artwork. Now, the market would probably signal that pixel artwork is the most popular. Maybe that's because people actually like the aesthetics of pixel artwork. Maybe it's because pixel artwork was first. First mover advantage has a pretty significant impact to it. And when you see CryptoPunks selling for $10 million, there was an alien that got a bid for 2,300 ETH last night, I think, and that's over $10 million. When you see stuff like that, you're like, well, pixel artwork is the investment, so that's what I'm going to buy. So if we talk about pixel artwork first with SMB and Thugz, and really my primary argument here was that we have too much pixel artwork. They're all derivatives of each other. You could even argue that SMB and Thugz are derivatives. You could. I mean, it's the honest truth. Now, SMB and Thugz did create their own attributes, their own assets, but it's not a stretch to think that they're derivative of something else. For instance, if you Google pixel art monkey, look at this guy right there. If I just kind of cut it off like that, what do you see? You see the Gen 2 monkeys. If I erase it, you see the Gen 1 monkeys, don't you? Now, they may have taken this asset right here and added their own attributes to it and made their own unique flavors and styles. They made the Solana fur monkey. They made, the zombie monkeys. They clearly did their own work on top of this. It's just not a stretch to call it a derivative. And then when we talk about Thugbirds, if I look up the NFT birds on Ethereum, a project that's existed since March, well, there's obviously a lot of similarities here, especially around the beak. They're not the same, neither is SMB, they're not the same, but there's similarities, and it's not a stretch to call them derivatives. So I guess for me, I just have never really gravitated towards pixel artwork in general because of the amount of effort that it takes to create it. I've always actually gravitated towards 3D artwork. This is my own personal preference. So if I'm looking at Ethereum-based projects and I'm looking at Solana-based projects, I'm going to look at CryptoPunks and BAYC on Ethereum, and then I'm going to look at, SMB or DAA on Solana. The thing that's going to catch my eye the most is DJ Ape Academy, because I personally prefer 3D artwork. In fact, if you look at my entire portfolio, the things that I love the most are going to be DJ Apes, Jungle Cats, and Rogue Sharks, because I just like the 3D artwork the most. I also kind of like the ethos that is provided by DJ Ape Academy. We talk often about how Monolith is a genius, and it's not so much that his artwork is really well done artwork, but it's more that he captured an entire culture, an entire degen culture. If you think about how we got here in all of cryptocurrency, where did this really stem from? This stemmed from March of last year when Wall Street Bets went on some total degen ape spree. Apes Strong Together came from Wall Street Bets when they barreled into GameStop. And then all of a sudden, everybody started making so much money off of memes that they barreled into meme coins. And Elon Musk piled in and helped pump Dogecoin. And then, by April of that year, NFTs became a thing because all of these people had made so much money. They made so much money off of these meme stuff that now they could buy digital assets. A younger generation could buy digital assets that represented them. And I think that's a really important thing to remember why NFTs are so important in the first place is, Beanie very recently, if you know Beanie Max, search for him on Twitter. And I tweeted about this morning. Beanie said the most cringe thing ever was the BAYC festival. This is clearly a top signal. And I'm like, I couldn't disagree with that more. Nothing could be a bigger bullish signal than people getting together and striving for physical human contact and communication, and NFTs were the thing that brought them together. NFTs are different. He said something to the effect of this reminds me of the ICO craze in 2017, where we had conferences and people got together to talk about ICOs. And I'm like, this is different because nobody Nobody shops for Solana coins and picks out the Solana coin that they want, but when they shop for DJ Apes, they pick out the one that they want. This is a representation of themselves. And when we get together at these festivals and conferences, it's to find people who have a like mindset culturally. And that's why I think NFTs are now proving to be the most important thing in the space to come. I think this is like the honest thing. Like in the next 10, 20 years, NFTs are going to be the dominant investment because it's the people's representation of their culture, but simultaneously bringing people together. And Alpha Boopy here in this thread is going to say the same thing. This is part of their criticism as to why Solana NFTs aren't doing so well. So, I want to talk more about this. I think, though, the thing that I want to stress on right now is that, to me, DJ Ape Academy is the one that catches my eye as a normie because I prefer 3D artwork. And when I look at the DJ Apes, I see this culture. And then I go follow them on Twitter and I read the culture. I see the people who are participating in it. But at the same time, they're like a legitimate community, a group of legitimately amazing people. Look at this. Yesterday on a Sunday afternoon, someone just tweets out that they picked up, this maid albino with a Viking hat, and just 161 likes, 34 retweets, and 40 comments later, including from Monolith himself. Everybody's saying, like, welcome to the Academy, jump in Discord, we're going to show you around, we're going to show you Min Squad, welcome, welcome, welcome. You don't see this in other places. Like, this wasn't an influencer who bought an ape. This is just someone who bought a floor ape, and the ape community went absolutely crazy about this. And to me, this is where it starts to get a little bit different. And I'm going to talk more about how the apes are transcending the digital world into the physical world later. But I think this is really important to see that the community is extremely strong. So DAA, for me personally, I've recently said this is the most bullish project that I have, not only because I think when normies start to enter the space, for the ones that really like 3D artwork and also want to join a highly established building community, one that builds ferociously, has a culture, has intellectual property, I think they're going to gravitate towards DJ Ape Academy over any project on any chain, period. And that's why I think the DJ Apes are the strongest project on all of Solana. But to counter the argument that SMB and Thugz are, just pixel artwork, well, that's a big deal for people who don't like pixel artwork, but for people who like pixel artwork, like, I honestly think the monkeys have the best pixel artwork. I really do. The Solana fur monkey, it fetches millions of dollars now for a reason, because it looks good. It looks cool. And they're cute. And I think that's a big deal. My arguments when I talk about the derivatives are a big problem. I think we're seeing too many things that start with baby. We're seeing too many things that end with business. I think we're seeing too many combinations of so-and-so. And again, I just keep seeing them just taking your cash and then never doing anything. There are some exceptions to that rule. I think the monkettes are probably the biggest exception to that rule because they are truly unique attributes and artwork. They've also created the Vibe token that they're airdropping to delisted monkette holders. They announced that recently. I think it was late last week. And you'll be able to use that Vibe token for all sorts of things, including to purchase things out of their treasury, like Solana monkeys, like Thugbirds, like blue chip projects. So they're airdropping you free money that you can use in turn to buy blue chips. I'm very bullish on the monkettes. I'll always be bullish on the monkettes. I think that they're a great complement to the Solana monkey business platform, even though they're completely unaffiliated. I think I couldn't imagine holding a monkey and not a monkette. Let me put it to you that way. I don't necessarily feel the same way about Thugettes. I think the Thugs are on their own. I think maybe if they had called them hood rats or something else like that, it'd been a better compliment. But nonetheless, the flip side of that is I look at the Thugbirds and I see nothing but builders. As far as one of the things that I am most bullish on, if not the most bullish on, is a project that wants to better the entire ecosystem as well as build their own intellectual property and brand through services and offerings. The Thugz have a podcast, they have merch, they have a launch pad, and they have, a record label. A record label. This is in their, they're not even 3 months old yet. This is in their second month. Look at what everything the Thugz have built. Plus, they have high-profile people, celebrities, and influencers as Thug holders currently. Plus, they have a limited supply. I'm extraordinarily bullish on the Thugbirds, and I'm a very proud holder of my zombie Thugbird. I think it's cool looking. I think it's a hell of a lot better looking than the NFT birds that I pulled up later. Those look like just boring-ass pixel birds, whereas Thugbirds actually represent a culture to me. And they back that culture up with their amazing community and then the products that they build. That's the thing for me, is when I see the products that they build, that's the thing that gets me the most fired up, because I know that they're doing something more for Solana than just being a luxury brand that everybody wants to be a part of. So that's why I like DAA so much. That's why I like Thugbird so much. That's also why I like projects like DGod so much. So what does Alpha Boopy go on to say? Well, they talk about the difference between BAYC, and they're not as friendly and universally appealing as the Degen Apes are not as universally appealing as BAYC. To each their own. I actually kind of think the BAYC artwork, as far as 2D cartoon goes, is very good, very interesting, but also kind of living up to their name, kind of boring. To me, the best 2D profile picture in existence is the Meerkat Millionaires Country Club, and it's not even close. I absolutely believe that as far as 2D artwork goes, MMCC is by far the best way. The artist has mastered colors in such a way that the contrast really sticks out. Whenever you're scrolling through Twitter, you see... Can you hear my voice starting to go out? Because I've said this twice now. When you're scrolling through Twitter, the MMCC PFP catches your eye more than any other, especially the naked meerkats. With the background, the new backgrounds that they created, my God, those things pop. Plus, they actually mastered a true profile picture. Just like Degen Apes, if you can see them right down there, it's an actual profile picture. It's an avatar. There's not too much going on the screen. It's shoulders up. It's simple. It's clean. It's vibrant. And it's something that I can relate to. So, BAYC did a very, very good job of this, obviously. That's why people like them. They're so appealed to them. But I think MMCC did a better job of it. I do. And I think Solana has the best looking cartoon 2D profile picture in existence. So, again, to each their own. I would also argue that MMCC is or will be a top 10 and permanently, top Solana NFT project for a long time. And they're going to be around for a long, long time because of all the... If you watch my MMCC video, you know why. And I think from what I've seen with the DAO that they're building behind the scenes and the products that they have along the way, they launched their merch store last week with super high quality embroidered meerkat sweaters. You can pay with crypto. And I bought two because, hell yeah, I'm all about the merch. And we're going to talk more about the merch in a minute. So we'll keep scrolling down. And this is where they start to shift. Alpha Boopy starts to shift the argument towards point number 2, away from the artwork and more towards culture. Right there. Yeah, it's awesome that Steve Harvey buys SMB. But there's a difference between buying something because it's cool and you want the social status, that's buying an SMB is what they're talking about, versus buying something that's just a good investment. Well, I'm going to argue that SMB is a good investment because first generative profile picture project deployed on Solana, and history kind of tells us that people like the first, people like pixel artwork, and people like cute. That's exactly what SMB is. But the thing that I think they're trying to say that defines what is a good investment isn't that. What I think Alpha Boopy is trying to say that defines a good investment is culture in building. And I think they're trying to say that SMB doesn't have a universally inclusive culture, which they don't. They're pretty exclusive. And they're not building, which I don't really know if they are or not. So I'm not going to get onto that one. From the public's point of view, I'm in the Monkey DAO. I should probably research this. But from the public's point of view, it doesn't really look like they're building. The same could be said about CryptoPunks, right? They don't have to build. They were first. People like pixel artwork. One is up for sale for $10 million right now. It's not a stretch to think that the monkeys will experience the same kind of success over the next year or two. It's just not. I mean, they're already number 4 in overall market cap across all NFT projects across all chains. They don't have to do anything else because they've already got all the demand that they need. Now, is it kind of crappy that it doesn't feel like they're being so inclusive? Is it kind of crappy that it feels like a couple people in the communities are really there just to kind of show their bags and flex their weight? Maybe there's a pretty strong argument there about that. Don't blame the entire monkey community because of the actions of a couple people. Don't do that with any NFT project ever, okay? Don't do that. The monkeys right now are the most attractive NFT asset for a normie. I'm literally talking to Ethereum whales in my DMs because they want to know how they can get into monkeys in the easiest possible way. It's what's attracting the big Ethereum investors into our ecosystem, and you need that. You need cross-chain investors. So don't crap on the monkeys because like a rising tide lifts all ships. Well, they're the ones who are rising the tide the most right now. Again, I'm not necessarily saying that my money is on they'll be the ones to do it in the long run. I think it's a tortoise and the hare scenario here where like the SMBs are the hare. They've gotten off to an amazing start. I'm very fortunate to be a holder of one. But I think that in the long run, the global economy is going to favor builders who produce some sort of product that benefits the ecosystem, that benefits their holders. And as the giant masses, the billions of people get into NFTs and represent themselves, that's why I think you're going to see projects like with real serious builders like the Degen Apes and the Geckos. That's why I think they're going to be the ones that might win out in the long run. Now, luxury could always prevail. We're seeing that with the punks right now. No matter what BAYC has done with this amazing Ape Fest that they did last week, they're still dwarfed in comparison to what the crypto punks are doing. So I could be totally off on that prediction. It's just a prediction. I'm not throwing shade. I'm not even trying to participate in a competition here. When one of us wins, we all win. I can't stress that enough. It's just what I'm saying, that I think this is the way I think it's going to play out. So anyways, they're talking about, Alpha Boopy is talking about, what does it really mean to have a good investment in a project that people want to be a part of? They then say, okay, well, Solana has some good stuff going for it because of the tech. It's very fast, it has no gas fees, etc. But most people won't care if it isn't cool. Completely agree with that statement. No normie is going to come into Solana to buy an NFT if the NFT doesn't really strike their fancy, if they don't see an amazing investment opportunity to it. Couldn't agree more. And right now, when I look at my Twitter feed and I see BAYC renting out a 3-story yacht and having an actual music festival that Little Baby and the Strokes played at, that's the coolest NFT in the market, period. Hands down. That is the coolest project in existence, and it's not even close. Like, that is amazing. Beanie took to Twitter and said, like, no, this is the most cringe thing I've ever seen. BAYC throwing their Ape Fest, and this is clearly a market top signal. And I'm like, Beanie, you've clearly forgotten the entire point of NFTs. He says, like, this reminded me of the ICO craze when we all got together for conferences in 2017. And I'm like, the ICO craze, what are you talking about? Nobody thumbs through coins to pick out the, like nobody's thumbing through Solana to pick out the individual coin of Solana that they want to buy. Nobody thumbs through Facebook stock to figure out which Facebook stock I want to buy. The people who want to buy a Degen Ape, they're going to scroll through and pick out the exact Degen Ape that they want to buy because it's a representation of themselves. It's a representation of the culture, and it's a representation of the community that they want to join. At the end of the day, people crave human contact. People crave physical contact. People crave socialization. They crave it at varying degrees. Some people, like myself, love spotlights. You see, I'm holding my hands up right now in front of these spotlights. Some people love to talk. Some people like to be in front of a crowd, and they like that. Some people are total loners and they want to be alone. But I would even argue that those people are at least seeking another loner so that they could be alone together. And wouldn't it be nice if they could find someone who has the same NFT as them because they have this mutual common ground, this mutual culture, this game that they want to play together? This is why people got together in New York City this week, is because they craved socialization with all of these people that we talk to on Twitter but have never actually met. We want to sit down and have a beer with them. I got together and had a beer with a friend of mine who is a Cyber Gang holder and a Meerkat holder on Friday here in town, because I craved that communication, and I think he did too. And it was nice to sit down and talk about NFTs over beers for 3 or 4 hours. It was amazing. It was amazing. And the fact that your threads here go on and talk about no other NFT projects on Solana are doing that right now is kind of misleading. It's kind of not true, because first of all, they are. Second of all, the DGen Ape Academy gave away 6 tickets in their Discord this past week to see deadmau5 live at the Red Rocks this weekend. 6 tickets to their community go out together to see an amazing artist play at one of the most amazing venues in the entire country. The Monkeys had a get-together in Los Angeles where more people got together for the Monkey get-together than the actual Solana get-together. Now they're in Lisbon right now, and all you have to do is follow a few monkeys to find out that they have an extraordinarily strong community, because they're all hanging out in Lisbon, doing these like scavenger hunt things, coming up with like custom merch on the fly, super rare monkeys only merch that's at Lisbon. It's amazing to see these things that are happening. And the big thing that I want to stress here is that this is only in our 2nd to 3rd month. The monkeys have been around for 3 months at this point. The apes haven't. The Thugbirds haven't. They're still in their 2nd month. At this point, though, BAYC has been around for 7 months. CryptoPunks have been around for 4 years. It's not really fair to compare the projects that are legitimately building right now. They got their heads down. They're building. They're trying to build a brand and a community and give back to the one that they have. It's not really fair to assume that they should have already transcended the digital world into the physical one, but some already are. We see, like I already talked about, the Meerkats already have a merch store up and running, a luxurious merch store with embroidered sweaters of a meerkat embroidered onto the sweater, and you can pay in crypto. The DGen Apes have said that merch is on the way. They've already got it in the works, and it's coming. It's going to be here soon. So they're trying to do that. Now we scroll down a little bit and he talks about the Boopyverse project, and he says, like, my project was never intended to be a PFP, but look at this sick sweater right here. Can't deny that one bit. This is the NFT on a sweater, and it looks so dope. It looks so cool. I would absolutely rock that in public. Kudos to you, man, for coming out of the gate swinging with sick-looking artwork and the ability to put it on high-quality merch immediately. I think that's so sick. He retweeted somebody who said the exact same thing. I would absolutely rock this, and I wouldn't be the first NFT creator that I bought merch from, because this is an important thing, is the ability to identify my brand as I go out in public and find other people who associate it with me. And then the thread kind of wraps up talking about how the ecosystem, the Solana ecosystem, could be better if we focused more on building culture and community instead of just focusing on pumping the tech. And, at the end of the day, like, I'm putting the pen down and I'm thinking to myself, like, okay, let's take this with a reasonable point of view. There are some arguments in this thread that are very strong and legitimate arguments. There's sometimes we got to swallow a pill that's tough to swallow, but it makes it better at the end of the day, right? Sometimes it may come down to the fact that objectively, the normie might not appreciate the artwork that's on Solana NFTs right now, but they would on Ethereum. Not much else you can do about that outside of just try to attract more artists into the space, into Solana, and convince them that, we're a place that's worth building on and building your project and your ideas on. Recently, we saw professional artists, people who were like comic book artists, people who were 3D artists that participated in Disney movies, Marvel movies, And those projects failed to mint or really, really struggled to mint. Why? I don't know. I thought they were fantastic projects with amazing artwork. I minted, and it hurt to see that the Solana ecosystem was more interested in chasing pump and dumps, more interested in chasing whatever their favorite influencer was pumping today. And I really think you got to take a step back and ask yourself, why are you investing in these things? Is it just FOMO? Is it you just trying to make a quick flip? Because that's not going to cut it in the long run. That's the type of stuff where you're going to get lucky now, but it's going to really, really burn you hard at the end of the day, and you're going to get stuck holding a bag. Because what you really got to look for is, with a lot of influencers in particular, in fact, I actually saw it last night with one influencer. They tweeted, "I'm accumulating a lot of NFTs for this one particular project right now. I'll tell you later." And it's like, so you're buying now low so that you can pump it later, so that everybody can FOMO in and like drive your price up so that you can then dump on them. And it is like, you people are falling for it. You can't do that. You can't buy the stuff that influencers are just pumping. Especially when they're like, "I'm going to keep what I'm buying a secret." It's hilarious to me. I think it's pretty well known what projects I like to buy, and I think it's pretty well known that I like to do a lot of research on the projects that I buy too. Every now and then FOMO gets the best of me. I'm only human. We all make mistakes, but I try not to FOMO. And I really don't like these pixel cash grabs. I don't like pixel projects to begin with, but I at least appreciate that projects like the Thugbirds are true builders, and that's why I'm a very proud Thugbird holder right now. But yeah, the arguments here are really two arguments, right? It's that the artwork isn't going to catch people's eye. I think artwork is subjective. I think Ethereum simply has more artwork right now because it's been around for 7 to 10 months. I think we as Solana investors and holders need to do a better job of attracting artists into Solana and not scaring them off. Because right now, I've got DMs right now from people who are like, "I don't think I should mint on Solana. I think I should wait with my fresh idea, my fresh project, because the ecosystem is so harsh towards quality projects right now." That sucks. It sucks to be the person receiving that message. It sucks to be the person who has to say, "You know what? I think you're right. I think people either only want blue chips on Solana right now, or they just want to chase cash grabs. They just want to chase pixel garbage." It sucks to say that, but I think that's the honest case. But then the flip side down here is that a lot of these NFTs aren't building culture, or they're not building it quick enough. And I think that is an unfair argument, especially when I think about DJ Ape Academy, when I think about the Meerkat Millionaires Country Club, when I think about new projects like Cybergang, who's still minting right now, when I think about the Broken Robots, when I think about the Geckos. I think these are projects that have built a community. I think these are projects that are head down right now building so insanely rapidly. They're just so focused on building their project into the community that they believe it could be, that 5 to 6 months from now, we'll be having the conversation about them the way that we're talking about BAYC today. Because BAYC, again, has been around for 7 months at this point. Nobody in their second month of BAYC's existence, nobody saw this coming. Nobody. If you had told anybody back then that BAYC was going to be renting out a 3-story yacht and having a music festival by Halloween, they would have told you to fuck off. That's the honest truth. And this is, now, there's an expectation of it, right? That's what we want our project to be right now, and you can't do that. You gotta let them build. And I'm seeing the DJ Apes building. I'm seeing the Meerkats and the Club DAO and their merch that they're rolling out, they're building. I'm seeing the Geckos building. And I believe that the price action is super volatile right now, even though the DJ Apes are pretty resilient. I'm seeing these projects that are doing exactly what you're calling for. It just takes a little bit more time. Super kudos to you for launching with the idea of merchandise up front. Amazing idea. That's, for me, this is the first step to transcending the digital world to the physical world. Again, because we as humans crave human contact and communication so much. And this is my way to wear my badge out there in the world to the grocery store and to get gas and maybe run into another DJ ape who's also wearing their red hoodie. You had that vision in mind, Alpha Boopy, and super kudos to you. Your Boopyverse is fire artwork to begin with, but then you throw it on this merch and these stickers. I think you are on to something that most other projects are a little behind on. But, I think some of these projects are so incredibly long-term that the things that they have to build up front are things that are just going to take a little bit longer of time before we can get to that point and start transcending out into the real world. Remember, Ape Fest was part of Roadmap 2.0. It was not Roadmap 1.0. Bored Ape Kennel Club, merchandise, Mutant Ape Yacht Club, those all came out first before Ape Fest was even a thought. So, Season 2 brought us the festival where we as people got together. And Season 2 brought us the Mutant merch drop. That's what just happened recently. So, I think we need to pump the brakes a little bit on saying that the culture for the Solana ecosystem isn't there yet. You may have an argument if you were to target the culture of the Solana monkeys because they're so extremely exclusive and everybody just kind of wants to buy it because they just want to say they're in the club and, maybe see whatever they're pumping and dumping today. That's the argument that a lot of people are making. I like the Solana monkeys. I have seen some things in the Monkey DAO that don't necessarily make me proud either, but I think overall, the Monkey DAO and the Solana monkeys are extremely positive for the entire ecosystem as they're attracting a tremendous amount of capital into Solana that spills over into the other projects that we really need. So I wouldn't even go so far as to try and call them out, which is kind of what you did right here when you talk about, it's hard when Steve Harvey buys an SMB with that tweet. It's pretty much what you were doing is you're calling them out and just saying that it's just cool and you want the social status. I don't think that's necessarily the case. I mean, it's a pretty strong argument that's why people are buying it today, but I think there's going to be more to it. I think that's actually good for the Solana ecosystem. It's bad for the Solana ecosystem when there's a million derivatives and those people go to throw their money into it. I think that's a bad thing. But for the most part, I think the Solana monkeys are good for the ecosystem. So I just think you need to give this a little more time because I do see a lot of projects that are building the culture, building real quality for the ecosystem as a whole, including your own, including Boopyverse. I see that. And you deserve better than you've gotten. I'll acknowledge that too. But it's a little unfair to say, to me, to say that Solana NFTs just aren't cool. Could they be better? Maybe so. But to say that they aren't cool when we've got almost 3 in the top 10 is not quite accurate. I think you got to remember, when the DJ Ape Academy inevitably becomes in the top 10 in the next week or two, we will have 3 NFTs in the top 10, basically 30% of the top 10 market cap in all of NFTs across all chains in our second or third month of existence. I think that's extremely bullish, and I can't wait to see how this evolves over time. The tech is going to help artists and developers come into Solana NFTs, but you're right that the average normie just straight up doesn't care. What they want is something that looks good and makes them feel like they're a part of the community. But don't discount the impact that gaming will have. Gaming in Solana NFTs is going to be so big because of the tech. And when Aurora launches, and Star Atlas launches, and Genopets launches, and Nyan Heroes launches, and Project Elune launches, now you're going to get a massive amount of people flowing into the Solana ecosystem, and then they're going to look to the NFTs to represent themselves in the metaverse, and that's where I think it's going to really start to break out. So, fascinating thread. I was not planning on talking about any of this today. I was going to talk about the health of the Solana ecosystem, which is good, Everything is growing. The Solana coin is growing, and the NFT market caps are continuing to grow, which usually doesn't happen at the same time. When the coin grows, NFTs kind of flounder because now it gets really expensive to buy NFTs, but everything is going up. Even the DJ and Ape Academy, who did their snapshot yesterday, their floor was relatively unchanged. They went from like a floor of 47 to like 42. That's amazing that they held their floor together so incredibly strong after the snapshot, and their amount listed is still less than 10%. That's because the people who are in the academy know what's coming, and they know all the utility that's going to come with playing the game and having the Trash Panda and all of that stuff too. So I'm very, very bullish on Solana NFTs in general. I think Solana NFTs are cool. I think they've got a long way to go based on some of the things that you point out. I think there's a lot of very valid criticisms in this thread. But nonetheless, I'm not fazed by it. I'm not worried about it. I'm a big time holder of Solana NFTs. And I think this ecosystem over the next 2 to 5 months is going to go from awesome to unbelievable. I think we're going to say that phrase, unbelievable. I can't believe this is happening. Oh my God, we made it. We're going to be saying that. I really believe it. So this has been my thoughts on today's thread. Solana NFTs are cool. Thanks for stopping by. See you in the next one.